Yeah.
So what made you want to incorporate that like in your artistry, like at face value, like when you're performing a song or when like you're out in public, you're doing a show, like you're wearing like the face mask and all that?
One, I wanted to wear this because it's not about the face that's presenting it. It's like I want people to hear what's being said, like in the lyrics and everything. I don't want like people coming up and be like, "Yo, that was really dope what you did." Da-da. It's like if you didn't even know that it was me, what would be the conversation centered around everything? Would you turn over to the person next to you and be like, "Yo, in terms of this 1-2 lines, like how do you feel about that?" As opposed to like, "Yo, that was really dope," and they're hailing me up like a god or something. You know what I mean? I want you to turn to the person next to you and have a conversation. 2, I wanted to ask the question: can you create this dope art? Can you create amazing art without being at war with something? You get what I'm saying? Balaclavas, I feel like, are art at this point. The amount of balaclavas and the variations and how it's made, art, beautiful. Can that be created without its history of war? Can we still rock this and, you know, how I bleach this and make this, da-da? Can this be made and rocked and worn without street war?
Yeah, definitely. Like I know, like even with artists that do it like to cover their face wise, like you know, with lately 47, with Rumor, with MF Doom, like even though he wasn't wearing like an actual like balaclava, like balaclava and all that, like he was wearing like an actual like face.
Mask,
Yeah. So and
but
even
you avoid so much doing it, like a lot.
I do feel like, you know, it creates like that whole like mystique too, and to develop like artistry more in that sense too. And even artists, like they'll try to mimic it, like they'll try to like mimic it, sorry about that, like in a more unique way. So like they'll have like a shadow, or they'll kind of be like faceless for a bit, so you won't know like what they actually like look like. I know her, you know, back in like 2017, 2016, you know, like whenever she would drop a project or when she would release music, you know, like aside from the sunglasses, you know, like she would be like, you know, with a heavy like shadow like in her physique and all that, so you can only see like the silhouette of her body and all that at that time too. Emotional Oranges, like an R&B group, I think out of the States, they would also do that same thing too, like, you know, and they still do it like now because, you know, you don't want to know like what they look like in that sense too. Like even like in the shows, you don't know what they look like, you know. So
because it changes a lot, especially for female artists. I can see that I can see them doing it more than like a male artist, because it's like, I don't know, niggas just focus on body and everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could wear it to be like mysterious, but like as some females, maybe they don't want to focus on being their look. Maybe they don't want to be over sexualized, so they wear that to be like focus on the music. You know what I mean? I can understand a female artist wanting to wear that or cover, you know, any type of look based on her wanting maybe people to just respect the music before even knowing her look.
Most definitely. Do you feel like even like with that like all together, like with the balaclavas and all that, with the face masks, with the silhouette shadows and all that, do you feel like more people get the artistry, like more like it creates like a better sense of like artistry from these artists, like rather than just like showing like face and that's
I feel like yes, because you can't ask further questions about a person's look. You know what I mean? Like the questions about a person's look can only go so far because they have this mask on before you start turning to just the music. You know what I mean? Like you'll hear the music, like Rumor's one example. He still hasn't revealed his face, but it's just the artistry that's going to speak for itself. And there's only so many questions you can ask about the mask before you decide to either take in the music or not take in the music.
Yeah, I definitely agree in that sense too. You know, you had this one song right now called Phenomenalist, and I think like, you know, that song like kind of like speaks for itself in that sense too. So
100%.
Just kind of like,
that's a lifelong thing right there. Phenomenalist. It's got to come naturally.
Much, man. So I know, like, you know, you talked a lot about that in that song too, but in your own like perspective, please define like what a phenomenalist is and what traits would you consider that would fit like in that role.
A phenomenalist is someone who does something at a certain level, at a high level, to where it's catered to you. So being a phenomenalist is something very personal to you. So whether it's working for the highest position in your job, whether it's working to be at the highest level in the industry, whether it's working to get to the highest level of your artistry, being a phenomenalist is getting to that point of the highest level of whatever you're doing, but you got to make sure to keep that certain like like swag. You gotta bring you to the table at the same time. So if you're going for the high position in the office of where you work, like it's not just going for the high position and getting it. Cool. But did you bring that like element of you to the grind leading up to that? Like do everything phenomenally. You know what I mean? Like the phenomenalist part comes from you as an individual person. So you can only add that. No one else can define what a phenomenalist means for you. You got to bring that to your story, because your story of how you got from point A to point Z, wherever you see that, is literally catered to you.
Yeah, most definitely. And you know, like even in that sense too, like we could even say like people like in the music industry, like anyone who's ever like made it, like in that sense, is a phenomenalist if they took it to like a higher level, whether it's like, and
they did it their way. Yeah. Like Wiz is one person where I have some homies who say Wiz fell off. To me, I feel like Wiz is in the best part of his career. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And he did it. That's a phenomenalist. Wiz is a phenomenalist. Ye, also a phenomenalist. But between those two people, like Wiz and Ye, very different people. Very different people. But they both did their thing phenomenally and did it with a phenomenalist mentality, in my opinion. And that's what a phenomenalist is.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And as well, like, can you also define like what selling trauma means to you? Like, I know that you've had like part 1 and 2 like of the songs like out right now like on all streaming services, but can you just like define it in that sense, and if it plays like a big role for you or anyone else in society?
100%. So selling trauma, the concept of selling trauma is something that's very relevant to almost every and anybody. I got that concept from an interview I watched with Vince Staples. And I forget who he was interviewing, but he said black people sell trauma the best and the most. And then I looked at it, I was like, between any immigrant, whether it's Asians, Mexicans, Africans, whoever, any immigrant culture, any whatever, once you get into artistry or even telling your story, what we're doing is literally selling our trauma, especially artists. If you paint because of what you've been through, if you make music because of what you've been through and you're trying to express that, but then you're putting a tag on this and you're selling it, what we're doing is selling our trauma, which is a very deep thing. So if you imagine, let's say you go to see a therapist and those therapy sessions are recorded. Now, if you take those therapy sessions and sell them, how many people would want to hear, let's say, Jessica Alba's therapy sessions? How many people would want to buy that as much as they maybe want to buy her sex tape? That therapy session is her trauma and what she's been through. I bet you a ton of people would want to buy her tape, along with a million of other artists. So what we do with our artistry is we put our trauma on tracks and then we also sell it. And we make money from it, which is a beautiful thing. But it's also, I also made the selling trauma concept to let people know part 1 and part 2 are two very different vibes. Part 1 is way more introspective. Part 2 is more of like a lit vibe. You're in the club, you're whatever, you're doing your thing. You might not even take in the lyrics, but you gotta keep in mind the lit shit that I'm saying on those tracks, whether I'm saying, because I also said lines like, smash that cruise like, whoa, take my bitch back, no, take my words back, no. That's from me being through traumatic effects of something involving my ex or any other girl I've been with. So I'm not just saying those lines to be like, oh, fuck my ex. It comes from, if I'm saying something like that, where does it come from? People might not take it in at the time while getting lit, but I created and went deeper on the selling trauma concept to let people know like this stuff comes from a deeper place than just trying to make a lit vibe or something with 808s that gets shit booming. Like these things come from somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And I noticed that you've quoted like Vince Staples like in that sense too, and like you explained it. He actually did like another interview. I don't know if you've watched it, where he talked about like, you know, black people like being like entertainers. So people only care that black people like are entertainers in that sense too. But
legit. Or I see it now. It's almost like it's almost like this card that gets you into places. It's like, I don't know, I get this vibe sometimes where it's like okay, cool, you're black, but it's like, what are you black in? Like, what do you do? As opposed to just like, oh, hey, what's up, Charles? Or what up, Yusso? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's more like, oh, wait, so what do you do? Like how black are you? Like, what's this, like, this calling card to, like, you know?
And you know, like this is kind of like more introspective in that sense too. So say you don't even do music in that sense too, or you like retire from it like in that sense too. Would people like care about you more, you know, if you were like a regular person rather than an artist, or do you feel like it might be like the other way around? Like, you know, like let's say like, hey, I'm gonna stop like making music and all that. I'm gonna focus more on myself and all that. Do you feel like the respect and like, you know, the care like decreases like in that sense too?
Like for me personally?
You know, this is just like an example.
In general, I feel like artists gotta watch out for that. Artists really gotta watch out for that. There's a few other groups that gotta watch out for that, but artists really gotta watch out for that. You're used to people. I feel like you can really start to define your use to people when you make yourself kind of useless to people. Then you can realize where people really hold you and what your economic meaning to someone is.
Definitely. Because I do feel like, you know, like even in that sense too, like we could talk about like rappers like all day in that sense too. Like let's say, you know, you don't fit into any of these like tropes. Like you're not a rapper, you're not a person like selling drugs or doing like illegal means to get by. You're not doing sports. You're not like, you know, doing like cloud type stuff, you know, like for YouTube and all that. Like you're not like a YouTuber and all that. You're not like a socialite and all that. You're not like big on like social media. You're just like a regular like square dude like working 9 to 5 and all that. You know, just
people could really look at you like, yeah, there's, especially in the industry, people could look at you like, what's your use to me? Like, you don't do any of these things. But a music appreciator is a big thing. Getting an opinion from a music appreciator who doesn't even, especially the ones who don't even dabble in what you do, like the music you make. Like I've had people who've never listened to like the type of music I make, but their opinion is like, whoa, like you had enough of a thought to develop this opinion about something you don't even really fuck with. So, yeah.